Ever wonder what really goes on in the Flat Earth Society?
Yeah.
I mean, beyond the memes and documentaries, who are these people? You sent us some fascinating material on this, and um, getting to know the prominent figures from the Flat Earth Society's history has been, well, surprising to say the least.
What we often see is a caricature of the movement, not the real people behind it.
Exactly. So to really understand its history, maybe we should start by digging into the life of someone who's considered the OG flat earther, Samuel Rowbotham, also known as Parallax. He was living in England in the 1800s, and he dedicated himself to what he called zetetic astronomy. What exactly is that?
It's a philosophy, really, centered around the idea of seeking truth through independent observation and questioning established knowledge.
So kind of like the scientific method.
Well, yes and no. It's a subtle but crucial distinction.
Well,
While the scientific method embraces rigorous testing and revision of hypotheses based on evidence, Zeteticism tends to start with a conclusion in this case, a flat Earth, and then interpret all observations through that lens.
so Rowbotham, he found what he set out to find, even if it wasn't actually there.
Precisely. Rowbotham wasn't content to just accept what he was told. He spent a decade conducting experiments and observations, ultimately writing a book called Zetetic Astronomy, which became a foundational text for the Flat Earth movement. But, and this is what makes him so fascinating, his ideas, as outlandish as they may seem, sometimes echo in unexpected ways in modern debates.
Really? Like what?
For instance, Rowbotham predicted something called planar warming, based on his model of the Earth, which bears a striking resemblance, at least superficially, to our modern-day concerns about climate change.
Huh. It makes you wonder what drives someone to dedicate their lives to promoting ideas that contradict, well, widely accepted scientific consensus. What makes these ideas so compelling, so enduring?
That's a question that has intrigued scholars for centuries. There's no single answer, of course. But in the case of flat Earth theory, there's an undeniable appeal to its simplicity. It provides a clear visual model of the world that can feel more tangible, more concrete than the abstract concepts of modern astronomy.
Like preferring a hand-drawn map to GPS coordinates.
Exactly. And for some, that tangible, understandable model can be incredibly compelling, especially when it aligns with their personal beliefs or worldview.
So we've got this scientific approach that's not actually very scientific, predictions that coincidentally echo modern concerns. And if our sources are correct, Rowbotham also found time to run a socialist commune. It's almost as if his life was a study in contradictions.
His life was certainly anything but conventional, which makes him a captivating figure to study. But he's not the only one. As we delve into the lives of other key figures in the Flat Earth Society's history, we'll continue to uncover these fascinating contradictions, these unexpected intersections of science, belief, and personal experience.
And that brings us to our next compelling character, Lady Blount. Now, she was a bit of a Renaissance woman.
A Renaissance woman drawn to the seemingly paradoxical simplicity of the Flat Earth theory.
Yeah, it really makes you stop and think, If someone so multi-talented, devout could embrace this idea, I mean, it can't be as easily dismissed as we might assume, right?
Exactly, and her involvement wasn't passive. She was a prolific writer, and even penned a novel titled Adrian Galileo, which explored flat Earth concepts through fiction.
Wow, Adrian Galileo, huh? What's the story about?
It offers a fictionalized exploration of what might happen if irrefutable proof of a flat Earth were to surface, shaking the foundations of scientific and religious institutions.
Sounds like a wild ride.
It is, and I won't spoil the ending for our listeners, but it certainly sparks a conversation about the power of belief and the nature of truth itself.
Now, that's what I call thought-provoking. But Lady Blount wasn't the only one finding creative ways to explain the flat Earth. We also have Joseph Holden, who preferred a more, shall we say, hands-on approach.
Absolutely. Holden was known for his public lectures and demonstrations, often using simple experiments to illustrate his points. He was particularly fond of the classic water bucket experiment.
Ah, yes. The one where, if the Earth is spinning so fast, why doesn't the water fly out of a bucket?
Exactly. It's a classic example of how flat Earth proponents try to debunk established scientific principles with everyday observations. Of course, the experiment overlooks crucial concepts like gravity and inertia, but it's a powerful visual nonetheless.
Right, right. And Holden wasn't just some lone voice in the wilderness, was he?
Not at all. He was quite popular, especially in his hometown, which even celebrates Joe Holden Day to this day.
Talk about leaving a legacy, huh? It's a good reminder that these ideas can take root and spread in unexpected places. Sometimes they even influence entire communities. Which brings us to our next figure, Wilbur Glenn Voliva. Now, this guy wasn't just a believer. He was the mayor of Zion, Illinois, and he ran his town according to some very particular and strict religious principles.
Voliva was a fascinating and to some controversial figure. He used his position of power to incorporate flat earth teachings into the town's schools, and even preached his views on one of the first radio stations owned by an evangelist.
He had quite the platform. And he wasn't afraid to use it to challenge conventional thinking. Didn't he have a rather unique interpretation of Admiral Byrd's expedition to the South Pole?
Indeed, while most of the world saw Byrd's flight as definitive proof of a spherical Earth, Voliva claimed Byrd had merely flown around the edge of a disc-shaped world.
Hold on. He really said that.
He did. It highlights a recurring theme within the flat Earth movement.
Right.
Reinterpreting evidence to fit a pre-existing belief.
It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You could try to force it, but it doesn't quite work. But then again, that kind of like mental gymnastics might be part of the appeal. Creating your own narrative, finding your own explanations for the world around us. It's a tempting prospect, isn't it?
You raise an interesting point. The human mind craves explanations. We seek patterns, connections, and meaning, even in the face of contradictory evidence.
And sometimes those explanations come from unexpected sources. Which brings us to Samuel Shenton, the man who revived the Flat Earth Society in the mid-20th century. Now, what's intriguing about Shenton is that he didn't just inherit the mantle. He brought his own unique interpretation to the table.
Shenton's vision wasn't simply a return to the classic disc-shaped Earth. He envisioned an infinite plane dotted with multiple dome worlds.
Multiple dome worlds. Okay, Now that's thinking outside the box, or should I say outside the dome.
Indeed. Shenton's ideas highlight the imaginative and evolving nature of flat Earth beliefs. It's not always about rigid adherence to a single model, but a willingness to explore alternative explanations, however unconventional they might seem.
It's almost as if the act of questioning becomes more important than the answers themselves.
An astute observation. And for those curious about Shenton's thought process, many of his personal writings and lectures have been digitized and are available in the Shenton archives.
A treasure trove for the intellectually curious, I imagine. Though I have to admit, I'm curious to know how the Flat Earth Society navigated the information age. Enter Charles K. Johnson, who took over leadership after Shenton.
Johnson, alongside his wife Marjorie, guided the society through a period of significant growth. They embraced modern communication, distributing newsletters, pamphlets, even personalized responses to every single inquiry.
Wow, talk about a hands-on approach to outreach. It sounds like they really took the idea of engaging with different perspectives to heart.
Absolutely. In a world increasingly saturated with information, Johnson's commitment to individual correspondence speaks volumes about the human desire for connection and dialogue, even with those who hold vastly different views.
It makes you wonder, in today's world of instant communication and online echo chambers, do those personal touches, those individual connections, hold even greater significance?
It's certainly something to ponder. And perhaps it speaks to why the flat Earth idea persists even today. It's not just about the shape of the Earth, but about seeking understanding, connection, a sense of belonging.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the surprisingly complex world of the Flat Earth Society, what's the key takeaway? What can we learn from these individuals and their unwavering commitment to a seemingly impossible idea?
Perhaps it's this. The human mind is drawn to explanations, narratives, and belief systems that resonate with our personal experiences and worldview. Whether it's seeking truth through observation, exploring ideas through fiction, or finding solace in shared beliefs, the quest for understanding is a fundamental aspect of the human condition.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you with this thought. Why do you think that the Flat Earth idea continues to capture imaginations and spark debate, even centuries after we've proven the Earth is a sphere? Food for thought as you navigate this vast, complex, and undeniably spherical world.
Keep asking questions, keep seeking understanding, and most importantly, keep an open mind.
Until next time, keep exploring.